Tall girlies have come a long way with the clothing and fashion struggles. Whether it's not finding pants, shirts, dresses, shorts, honestly everything at this point. But whether it's not finding clothing items that are long enough or having to settle for weirdly fitting men's clothing, we've been through a lot. And I mean a lot. But honestly, now we have so many options. Bigger retailers are now including tall sizing for some of their pieces, and various small tall brands are popping up left and right. Hearing this, you think everything is all dandy, right? Wrong. Well, kinda. We have tall clothing now, but according to some tall women, there's something that seems to be lacking in that tall clothing, like taste or style. Oof, okay, that sounds pretty harsh. So in today's episode, we're going to determine whether or not tall-friendly women's clothing is ugly and explore some of the reasons why some tall women believe that they kind of are ugly. So let's get into it. Good morning, everybody. You are currently listening to a Tall Girls podcast hosted by a tall girl named India. I hope everyone who's tuning in today is doing super fantastic. Before I get into this episode, I do want to say, make sure you're following me on my socials at a Tall Girls podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest so that you can stay up to date on all of the latest podcast episodes and catch a glimpse of my everyday life. Also, feel free to leave me a review and let me know how tall you are. I'm genuinely curious. I also have a monthly newsletter. Make sure you subscribe to that. Everything is going to be linked in the description. I hope you guys are doing fantabulous today. As you can probably tell by the title, we are going to be talking about tall clothing, tall friendly women's clothing, and a few of the struggles that some tall women face when it comes to that. And I find this very interesting because when we think about tall girl, tall women fashion struggles or tall women, tall girl clothing struggles, we think about not being able to find clothing for tall women, right? We think about, long sleeves being 3/4 sleeves, dresses fitting more like t-shirts or oversized t-shirts, shorts not covering everything that they're supposed to be covering, pants that fit more like capris, like stuff like that. And then those struggles kind of lead into another struggle where we find that many tall women have shopped in the men's section. And to a degree, it does work. To a degree, it could be successful. But let's just face it, the proportions for men's clothing is going to be much different than the proportions for women's clothing. And a lot of the items may just fit weirdly, or they're not really selling men's dresses and men's skirts right now. So some of the items that we want, we're not going to be able to find in the men's section. And then we have online shopping, which is a whole separate animal because we want to try on the clothing before we purchase it, but with online shopping we can't do that. And on top of that, we have to make a lot of assumptions because let's face it, when it comes to the measurements, and I'm not just talking about, let's say, the inseam or the sleeve length and so forth, though sometimes brands don't even include those measurements, which is annoying, but not even those measurements sometimes just aren't included. Also, we need the model's measurements to know, okay, how tall is this model? What is her body type like? Is it similar to mine? So I know that the clothing item is going to fit me the way that it's fitting her. Those measurements are also not included. And then on top of that, many brands honestly custom make those clothing items to the model's bodies. And then when you get it, it's like, it looks nothing like it did in the photos that I saw before I purchased it. It's a whole thing. And we also can't forget about the short girlies lying about what's tall girl friendly. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Like I said, it's a lot. We've worn terribly fitting clothes, or we've worn the same 2 pairs of pants for the past however many years, of course after we stopped growing, because we all know the issue with trying to find pants every year because we're growing. But after we stopped growing, we've worn the same 2 pair of pants for who knows how long because those are the only 2 pants that seem to be long enough for you and fit well. We've also been dress coded. If you haven't gotten dress coded in middle school at least 3 times, you are not a true tall girly. You haven't lived the real, authentic tall girl experience. Any mention of the finger test, or for me, it was the ID card test, it was over. I knew I wasn't getting out of that one. That was truly a time. Had to wear sweatpants and jeans intended for 40-year-old women in the summer days, in the heat waves. It was lovely. Anyways, we've evolved since then. We've evolved over the past few years. There are many more options for us, for the tall girlies, now than there were, let's say, 5, 6, 7, even 10 years ago. Big retailers are, I guess, hopping on the bandwagon and, providing more tall, inclusive sizing, and so many smaller tall brands are popping up as well. However, the tall girlies right now are starting to notice a bit of a pattern when it comes to tall women's clothing, particularly in the style. So I'm just going to straight up ask, is tall friendly women's clothing ugly? Because many of the tall girlies are saying that it's basic, boring, limited, and even comparing it to old lady clothing. Oh, anyways, let's hear a few tall women speak on this idea.
Feeling like y'all think tall girls don't want to be bad bitches too. Why y'all be giving us the old lady clothes? Like, I be feeling like y'all clothes just be given like here, like clearance rack.
Things that annoy the out of me as a tall person. As a size 11 women's shoe, which isn't even that big for a tall person, the shoe selection that I'm subjected to is always so fugly. It's horrendous.
Every time I'm trying to shop for some tall clothes on these clothes sites, y'all all have the same thing. Everybody has jumpsuits. If I see one more jumpsuit, I'm gonna scream. Okay, y'all, we all have jeans. Okay, we got jeans and jumpsuits and some pajama pants. Somebody makes some club outfits. Somebody makes some sweaters, tall sweaters. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Okay, this is my last thing. But for all the tall companies, like, I don't know if it's me, but like all of y'all have jumpsuits. Like all of y'all have jumpsuits. Y'all have similar colors. Y'all just got y'all logo on it. We have enough jumpsuits and jeans. Somebody make some dresses, cardigans, pajamas, some lingerie. I don't care. Somebody need to make something different.
And a couple of the tall girlies on Reddit are elaborating on those ideas, saying that tall clothing brands pretty much just give the essentials and don't give any trendy clothes, like, let's say, mom jeans or ripped jeans, or they sell tall trendy items when the trend is over. Some say that tall options only give neutral or dark colors, practically no or very little fun colors, or give boring/borderline ugly designs. Some also discuss how there are certain styles like healthcare scrubs, gloves, and lingerie that don't even come in tall yet. And honestly, I kind of agree with this. I did ask you guys in a poll over on Instagram, and I'm going to do a quick little plug here. Make sure you follow me at A Tall Girls Podcast so you can participate in these polls and have your opinions heard on these episodes. And I think that hearing you guys' opinions definitely adds a lot to these episodes. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has participated in these polls. But I did ask you guys, tall girlies, what are your opinions on tall clothing? 29% of you guys said, I like it, very cute and stylish nowadays. 48% said, I don't know, kind of basic and boring. And 23% of you guys said, it's functional at least, but not fashionable. I'm not gonna lie to you, the last two, boring and basic and not fashionable, they're kind of like similar, but I think that the fashionable is, using the term fashionable, I mean, kind of is my way of saying ugly without outright saying ugly, but that's just me. Either way, from these results, it just seems like you guys kind of agree that tall fashion, tall clothing is limited. It's boring. It's basic, not fashionable, maybe a little bit ugly. Who knows? Y'all could let me know. But it kind of goes with my points of saying that mainly the essentials and the basics, or maybe the most popular styles, one or two of the most popular styles, are provided in tall, but there's nothing unique, nothing fun, nothing out there, no vibrant fun colors or patterns or styles that, or even trendy stuff, trendy styles and so forth that you guys may be looking for. For the most part, it just seems like it's not hitting for you guys. So very interesting results. Okay, I'm going to right now basically talk about what I've heard other tall women saying, whether it was like in person when talking to them or comments I've seen throughout like my social media for my podcast. Don't come for me at all. I'm only going to be talking about what I've seen and heard. Okay. But for example, with Long Tall Sally, and no tea, no shade to Long Tall Sally, okay, I think that they're an amazing brand and they're doing amazing work for the tall girlies. However, I've heard a lot of tall women saying that Long Tall Sally in particular is boring. Like there's a lot of neutral colors, a lot of dark colors. There's not really a lot of fun, vibrant colors or fun, vibrant patterns going on there. And just very neutral and bland, you know? And listen, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because there are people out there like me. I personally don't like vibrant colors. I don't really like bright colors, especially with my complexion. And for the audio listeners right now, I'm on the lighter side. I am a light skin. So I honestly gravitate more towards darker colors. And then on top of that, when it comes to getting dressed, I really don't feel like thinking that much, if I'm being super honest. So neutrals really just go together. Wearing a lot of black, wearing a lot of dark blue, wearing a lot of dark colors and stuff. It just makes getting dressed so much easier and I don't have to think too much about what I'm putting together. So I'm not saying that it's a completely bad thing. There are people out there like me who honestly prefer stuff like that. However, there are tall girlies out there who like a little bit of like a little pop, a little bit of fun going on. I think one of the TikTok videos that I played earlier, the girlie was talking about club clothing, like going out clothing. Like where is that for the tall girlies? Like they want to zhuzh it up a little bit. And some brands, for example, maybe like Long Tall Sally, just aren't really providing that for them right now. Abercrombie is another example, more so when we talk about limited options, because Abercrombie is basically, it sells clothes, right? But it doesn't, not everything on there is technically tall friendly. Like some of their options have tall sizing, but not everything. Like, for example, the pants and the jeans, and probably the most popular pants and jeans are sold in tall sizing. I don't really remember too much, or maybe all of their pants and jeans are sold in tall sizing. I don't really get my jeans from there, so I don't remember or know 100%, so you can let me know about that. But in particular, I actually did a TikTok video about where are the tall girlies getting their jackets. And honestly, I probably should have been more specific because I'm looking for a cropped jacket in particular. Like, I just like that type of style. And so I'm looking for tall, friendly cropped jackets. There's a lot of cropped jackets out there. Whether or not the sleeves reach my wrist is a different story. That's why I made that TikTok video. But for example, with Abercrombie, I know that they have tall sizing on there. But when I went on there to try to find a cropped jacket that could be in tall sizing, like the jackets don't come in tall sizing. Hey y'all, so some of them actually do come in tall sizing. It's more so the coats, the longer coats. So the ones that go past your waist, go down to your knees. I don't know the formal name of those coats. I'm sorry. But the cropped jackets in particular don't come in tall sizing. They don't take in consideration the length of our arms and the length of our torsos and so forth. So just wanted to come on here and say that. Why are the pants and the jeans only in tall sizing, but not the jackets? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? However, ASOS, for example, when I went on their site, they had one style that was a tall cropped jacket. They only had one of those sold out completely. And they don't have any other tall crop jackets on that site except that one tall crop jacket that I saw. And it's kind of like, if it's sold out like that, why are we not restocking? Why are we not understanding that we need more of that? Maybe more colors, because I mean, it was a white color and I personally am not a fan of wearing white. Why are we not selling other colors? Like, what's going on here? So in terms of that being limited, in terms of tall clothing being limited, I can also see that point. And I kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into that point about why is a lot of tall clothing limited or crusty or or as some tall women put it, boring, bland, borderline ugly, etc. Why is this the case? There are actually two directions we could kind of go with this. The first direction is with big brands and bigger retailers, and then the other direction is smaller brands, small, tall brands. And I just want to say right off the bat that there is no like one clear-cut answer. Believe me, I have done my research. I went through Google, I went through Reddit, I went through TikTok, I've even tried going through YouTube. Like, there's no one clear-cut outright answer because truthfully, nobody's really talking about stuff like this. Like, I'm just going based off of assumptions, what I've heard from other tall women, some research that I found that kind of like says the answer but not really, and vibes. And yes, we're going off of vibes right now. And starting with big brands, I feel like that's relatively straightforward, honestly. The reasoning as to why the tall clothing the big retailer sells, the reasoning behind why it's limited is similar to the reason why many big brands don't really cater to tall women. It's just a money thing, honestly. A big part of it is because we're a fairly niche market, and they believe that the money that goes into creating the tall clothing isn't really worth it because they don't think that we're a large enough market to cater to. To them, the market size is fairly small. But then, kind of on the flip side, if we're talking about basic clothing or basic pieces that are sold in tall sizing by these bigger brands, I also kind of think, and this is just my opinion, I think they're kind of playing it safe because if we're going back to the fact that we're a niche market and they think that we're not big enough to cater to and the money isn't worth it and so forth, the basics and the essentials are almost guaranteed to actually sell because everybody needs basics. Everybody needs the essentials when they're going about their day to day, when they're dressing in their everyday clothing and so forth. So they know that, okay, if we at least sell the black t-shirts, the black long sleeves, and two pairs of jeans that are probably our most popular styles in tall sizing, if we sell those in tall sizing, we know that those are actually going to sell. So we're not going to take that much of a loss because, like I said, everybody needs basics. So we at least know the tall women are going to buy those up. Because if you think about it, when it comes to the trends, like those are not timeless. Those are cyclical. And so they're just like pushing new stuff out every single season, and trying to keep up with that for regular sizing is a lot. And they're probably losing money because of that. Let's keep it real. They're probably losing money making the trendy clothing already for regular sizing. So making tall trendy clothing, they may lose even more money because of that, and they don't want to risk that. All in all, it's a lot about money. It's a lot about money when it comes to the big retailers. And the lack of market research, especially when it comes to the proportions of their tall clothing. But that's definitely going to be a different episode because they desperately need help and to understand a tall woman's body. Now, for the small, tall brands, it's a tad bit trickier because they live through the struggles. They understand the struggles, not only with, not being able to find clothing that fits properly and that's long enough and so forth and so on, but also not being able to find stylish pieces in tall sizing. They've literally lived through the struggles and they're trying to solve it. However, I'm going to give, because there's, as I said, with the bigger retailers, or just as I said earlier on, there's no one clear-cut answer. I'm just giving what I've heard, years ago, like 2 or 3 years ago at the tall size pop-up shop, or even when I talk to guests, potential guests and brands that are coming on this podcast. When I talk to them, I'm also just giving what they've said. And truthfully, it probably has a lot to do with manufacturing struggles. Especially when first starting out. I don't know too much about it because I don't have a tall clothing brand myself, but I think that a lot of factories and a lot of manufacturers, they pretty much have like standard sizing. They have standard patterns. Like they already have like the standard stuff, I guess, in mind, like, or pre-made or already mapped out or something of that sort. So when it comes to trying to make longer clothing or longer sizes or, tall sizes, the potential of them messing it up can be pretty high. And so maybe it's easier for them to do that for the basics and the essentials rather than stylish pieces or the trendy pieces, especially when you need a fast turnaround time for that and trying to make the taller sizes. And I'm pretty sure there's like a lot of back and forth going on. It's not the easiest, and honestly, it's not the quickest either. And then on top of that, you can also go to like specialty factories, I'm pretty sure, or specialty manufacturers, but that probably also costs more money. And when you're a small, tall brand, money is a big factor in a lot of the decisions that you have to make. So honestly, they may also be playing it safe as well, because the basics and the essentials are guaranteed to sell, slash they may not be able to afford to actually make those trendy pieces, the tall trendy pieces. Or if they are able to do it, they're selling for like $400, $500. And yes, I've seen super cute, super stylish pieces being sold in tall sizing, like the tall brand selling those type of clothing. I've seen those being sold for $200, $300, $400. And that's not always guaranteed to sell. You know what I mean? That's why I give a big shout out to Rach Will. I went to her fashion show the other day, period. Definitely check out that vlog. Shout out to her because she hand makes her pieces and they are absolutely stunning and also pretty expensive, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I just wanted to give her a shout out because she's doing some good work. I did ask you guys in another poll over on Instagram, who do you think does a better job at tall clothing? 15% of you guys said mainstream / big retail brands, and 85% of you guys said tall specific brands. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. The tall clothing brand owners are tall themselves, are tall women themselves. They understand the struggles. They know what to do when it comes to making the tall clothing. And it seems as though even though both of these types of brands, the mainstream and the tall specific brands, even though both of them have their struggles when it comes to creating tall clothing, whether it's, having limited styles or the sizing or just being basic and boring and so forth, it seems like you guys would more so support the tall specific brands. And it makes sense. It's like, if you're going to be boring, if you're not going to be fashionable, if you're going to be limited, might as well at least support the smaller brands, at least support the ones who are getting the sizing right, who are trying to make a difference in the fashion industry. So, interesting, but honestly not surprised. We need more behind the scenes content from tall clothing brand owners. The day-to-day, the process, the struggles. By the way, shout out to Stephanie from Prissy Duck for giving us a peek into her new warehouse. But would the tall girlies be into that? I feel like that side of things really isn't spoken about enough or shown like that. Yeah. This really isn't spoken about enough, and this question is for the tall clothing brand owners. What are some of the struggles that come with owning your brand? We more so see the final product, but not really the behind the scenes or the process behind it. But I will say that there are a lot of tall brands out there that do have fun styles, that do have fun, vibrant colors and so forth. Like Prissy Duck, as I gave a shout out to before. Rach Will, who I also gave a shout out to before. Purvie's style in particular has a lot of vibrant colors and amazing patterns and stuff. Like she puts work into her stuff. Like when I had her on as a guest, she was even talking about how she'd be back and forth with those manufacturers to make sure everything is perfect and made to how she envisioned it. And that's on period. But Paris Style, definitely check her out too. There should be no reason that the tall girlies struggle to find clothes that fit, let alone stuff that makes them feel confident. There are so many options out there for us nowadays. By the way, tall brands, this is your moment to plug yourself in the comments. Go ahead. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you. Of course, as always, feel free to hit me up on my socials at A Tall Girls Podcast and let me know what you thought about this episode. Do you think that tall clothing is ugly? Do you think that it's bland and boring and lacking and limited and so forth? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on that. I do partially agree, but I personally I wouldn't call it ugly. Like, I would say, yes, it is limited as the examples I gave earlier with ASOS and Abercrombie, but I wouldn't necessarily say ugly. I would say yes, they are kind of basic. They give a lot of the basics, the essentials and so forth, neutral colors. I'm personally into that, so I'm personally fine with that, but some of the tall girlies aren't into that. They want more out there clothing. They want more vibrant colors, more fun, you know what I mean? So, let me know what you think about that or even the potential reasons as to why fun clothing for tall women is kind of lacking. I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the DMs, in the comments. Just let me know. And thank you so much for listening up to this point in the episode if you are listening to this right now. And I honestly hope you have a good rest of your day, week, month, year, life, whatever it is for you. And I will catch you in the next one. Good night and goodbye.